What's going on, guys? This is Kaishro. Welcome back. So we are back with another video. So in this video, we're going to cover top 5 tech cards to play in February 2025 OCG format. So we are going to cover the most spiciest, most unconventional, and most controversial tech staples that you could play in this February post-Alliance or Alliance Insight format in the OCG. So before we venture in our top 5, we are going to discuss the meaning of my dictionary of tech cards for our unfamiliar viewers. So these cards are cards that see seldom play on the side deck and sometimes main deck of most people. So these cards are not really included on most deck lists and not a staple for everyone. And also, despite being unpopular, these cards can have so much value against the meta decks on the format. So mainly, these cards are used to counter the best decks available, and even though they are very unpopular, they can have so much offer towards the best decks, and also often labeled as spice or cards that may surprise the current metagame. So from the root word of tech cards, they are cards that are the most spiciest and also really unconventional cards that may hurt the metagame. And moving on towards our top 5, we do have XYZ Encore. On the top 5, this card is seeing resurgence once again. The last time that this card was very popular was the full power Ryzil format, and now with Star Ryzil in the mix of the newly supported Ryzil, Ryzil is back once again. And also the last time this card was prevalent on everyone's side deck was the purely format, no? So now we are seeing some iterations of XYZ Encore on some people's side deck. So moving on towards the importance of XYZ Encore. So we'll answer the Ryzil matchup. So most often than not, you would only use this card for the Ryzil matchup unless your metagame can be played with some purely as well, no? But most often than not, it is a Ryzil matchup staple. And I think this card can be very unexpected. Most Ryzil players doesn't really anticipate XYZ Encore. Especially this card is just tailored or catered towards the matchup, particularly on the Ryzil only, no? So this card will be like a rabbit out of the hat of most people. It will be very unexpected and also can bait out Solemns and can play around anti-spell fragrance. So more importantly, once you face a Ryzil matchup, you would want to eradicate their Solemns as early as possible, because these Solemns are mainly usage for Ryzil to empower their going first, especially on game 2 to 3, no? They have always Solemns on the side deck, and more particularly the Solemn Judgment. So you can bait out the Judgment early on with Encore. And also, this is a quick play card. So you can pretty much comfortably play this card under anti-spell fragrance. Once they flip the fragrance, you just need to chain out the XYZ Encore, and their detonator will be hapless on that moment. The moment where you encore the detonator, they will be left with minuscule interruptions only on their field. If they don't have the third XYZ on their field, which is very unlikely right now, they will be suffering so much from this card. And moving on towards the meta decks that can be tackled by XYZ Encore will be none other than Ryzil, of course, unless there are some purely out there, no? But Ryzil is the main de facto culprit for using XYZ Encore right now. And moving on towards the top 4, we do have Powersink Stone. So one of my favorite floodgates in the game right now, especially skill drain at R1, other floodgates like TC Boo, Rivalry, Ghost and Match, all of them at R1 right now. So Konami has been fixated on dealing with the floodgate issues that we currently have on the game, no? So it is very rare to see really exceptional and also used floodgates recently, and Powersink Stone is one of those unique floodgates that you could play in this format. So moving on towards the importance of Powersink Stone. So Powersink Stone can terrorize combo decks. It is a given fact for this card. It is like your pseudo skill drain. It disables the effects of your opponent on the field, and combo decks doesn't have countermeasures around this card, especially the format is not really acquainted on dealing against Floodgate. People have been dropping their Heavy Storm, and Cosmic Cyclone is not really played anymore. So you could get away with Powersink Stone, and also hard to play around. Like I said, most people have ditched their Floodgate removals and spot removals, no? So they will be rendered with their own engine to play around this type of card. Most often than not, other decks that cannot play through the field and they don't have floating on their hand or graveyard will be very in a rough spot against Powersink Stone. I think they don't have a way to counter this card and also play through this card, and it is a card that can act as your auto win Floodgate card. So these cards are very much played in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! Powerful going first cards like Skill Drain, before Imperial Order, no? And now we do have Powersink Stone, another card that can instantly win you games if you played it properly. Especially, you can still play effects on your turn, or rather on the opponent's turn, when you can put two effects. You will have two spell counters on Powersink Stone, and that's it. It will lock the opponent and everyone on the effect usage on the field. So it is really strong, and if played properly, it might be even better than Skill Drain. So moving on towards the deck that can be toppled with Powersink Stone, of course, Tenpai Dragon. They need to procure their Chundra, Pydra, and Bident effects, no? And White Forest, Azamina decks, all of those decks, combo Azamina decks, Finsmith decks, will have so much playthrough towards their field, so they can be rattled with Powersink Stone. And more importantly, Malice as well can be rattled with Powersink Stone. If you time the Powersink Stone properly against Malice, they could pretty much auto lose against that card. And probably they don't have any ways to use their link decoder, their other extenders like transcode, no? Those are really going to suffer around Powersink Stone. And moving on next, we do have the top 3 on our list. We do have Raigeki, a very old card. Imagine that. This card is probably even older than me. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, this card is older than me, but it still sees play up to this date, 2025. Imagine that. A decade long of Yu-Gi-Oh! And Raigeki is still prevalent, and we are going to see why. So Raigeki, moving on towards the importance of Raigeki. So unpopular yet effective going second. So we do have more popular going second cards like Lightning Storm, for example, no, and Ultimate Slayer, and even the more recent the card from Alin, the Gordon Schneider, and other going second cards are more popular than Raigeki and more played, but Raigeki is still Raigeki. It destroys all of the monsters of your opponent controls. So it is still very effective going second, even though this card is very old and very unpopular recently. It can still be very effective and also can force out interactions. The Omni Negates on your opponent's side of the field will be forced to use its effect, because if not, their board will be annihilated with one card, no? So they are in a very needy position to use their Solemn Judgment, their other counter traps, and other monster negations and Omni Negates, no? So Raigeki can handle all of those problems. And also simple, very simple. You just need to activate this card and destroy all of your opponent's monsters, no? But yet can trade for so much card advantages. Imagine that if you pull this off on a full board of your opponent, for example, Malice and other Azamina decks that use their Omni Negate already, you could pretty much wipe everything on their side of the field and have an open board game state and be ready for an OTK. It's just easy as 1, 2, 3 if you can play this properly, and it is very simple yet still effective, no? So as the old saying says, simplicity is also the best form of mastery. So Raigeki is still really strong in this 2025. And moving on towards the deck that can be toppled with Raigeki. So Malice, I think Malice has been the more popular choice right now. The best deck, arguably. So sometimes Malice doesn't end on Omni Negates and they will be having a Palooza on their board, and other stuff like Little Knight, no, for example, and also the Malice cards doesn't have Omni Negate protection, so yeah, you would pretty much annihilate their boards at top once you can go second and they are not prepared against board wiping cards like Raigeki. And moving on next towards the top 2 on our list, we do have Red Reboot. So a lot of people have disregarded the importance of Red Reboot, including me. I often see Red Reboot as a card that is very meta tailored or meta catered card only. It really depends on the meta game, but for now, I believe Red Reboot can have so much value on your side deck, even though as the 15 card of your side deck pool, no, I think it can bring so much value for you and can get you out on most tight situations. So moving on towards the importance of Red Reboot. So Red Reboot can single-handedly win you matches in game 2 to 3. So as we all know, side decking pattern of your opponent can really be diverse, but most of them are catering trap cards on their side deck, like Solemn Judgment, Solemn Strike, Artifact, Sanctum. So those cards are really essential towards this modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Because you want to protect your board and probably stop everything that your opponents wants to do. So Red Reboot can give you a breathing room against those, and very effective when you use it on a condensed environment. So example, in the Philippines has been notorious for control decks, stun decks, floodgate decks. All of those trap decks are really prevalent here in our country. So if you are going to that kind of environment where it is expected that you are going to face a lot of control, stun, trap decks, no, Red Reboot can automatically win you so many matches, and it is very effective on those type of environments where it is notable that you're going to face back row decks, and this card can save so much for you and also dictate the game. With one Red Reboot, a lot of traps will be disabled, and also your opponent cannot do anything on their back row if they are playing traps, no. So they will automatically lose around you, especially like Labyrinth, for example, Runic, and Eldritch is also gaining traction recently. And yeah, and also your antidote against Sanctum, Solemns, and Barrier. Like I've said earlier, these 3 cards are what defines a going first approach in this modern Yu-Gi-Oh! With Sanctum very prevalent on the Ryzil and other decks like Cubel, for example, no, that can play out the site, and also Solemns, Strike, and Judgment are 2 of the most popular side deck cards to play going first. So you could also answer that. And Barrier, of course, Barrier can single-handedly destroy the Ryzil matchup, the Tenpai Dragon matchup, even the likes of Voices Voice and other decks like Dragon Maid, no. So yeah, it is really strong to answer those going first cards and turn skipping cards like Barrier and Sanctum. And moving on towards the deck that can be toppled with Red Reboot, of course Orcus, they are going to rely on their counter trap for most of the time. And next, Labyrinth. Labyrinth still very prevalent, even though it is losing traction recently. The Dominus build of Labyrinth are gaining so much attention, especially in Japan and Korea, and a lot of people are already picking up the gist of that type of Labyrinth, and they are incorporating other iterations. But of course, Labyrinth is still a trap deck. They would rely on Big Welcome and Welcome, no. So Red Reboot can seal the deal against Labyrinth. And of course, Runic is climbing back once again in the meta game. Oh my goodness, I am lost for words because I thought this deck was just a top rogue deck on this meta game, but the more the meta has been standardized, of course Orcus, Twice Primite, Malice, Ryzil, and even the Genesis are solidified as one of the best decks out there. Orcus, Runic can just cater their Floodgate lineup and hand trap choices and other nifty cards to answer those best decks, no? So they would just tailor everything again and play out for the strengths of Runic, just decking out the opponent, gaining LP on time and stalling out for game, and also controlling the match, no? So yeah, it is given that Runic can always integrate a different approach on their deck and adapt towards the current metagame. And moving on towards the top 1 of our list, we do have Chaos Hunter. So of course, Chaos Hunter, this is also the first top 1 choice of my previous top 5 tech cards video last December or November. So Chaos Hunter still really strong in this metagame. TCG, OCG, it doesn't matter. Chaos Hunter is really a thing right now. And even on the finals of the YCS Birmingham, Dinkabuy relied on Chaos Hunter to win the match against the Malice. And notably, Malice is the best in the OCG region right now, and it is the most ridiculous deck to play against. So Chaos Hunter will be sitting on the throne of our top 5 tech cards. On towards the importance of Chaos Hunter. So Chaos Hunter, we do have Chaos Hunter as a phenomenal card against the Rising Orcus. So Orcus is a very budget friendly deck for most people, especially the core can come very cheap from the QCTB boxes, and a lot of people have bought that for the aesthetics and also the support for the Punk, Orcus, and Dragon Maid. And Orcus, in return, has been a very cheap engine or archetype for quite some time now. And the engine can come off cheap as well. Horus and Divine Smith can also be cheap, no? So, a lot of things are just falling into place for Orcus. Budget-friendly, easy to use, effective, and one of the best decks out there. So naturally, people, especially in our country, Philippines, marginalized country, no, they would often play Orcus, buy Orcus, and just call it a day. Imagine that, just how strong Orcus is right now. You can just buy a very cheap Orcus core and do so much things in the tournament. And in return, it is one of the best decks out there. Very played by many people and still very popular from just the nostalgia factor of Orcus being one of the legacy decks, no? And also can be clutch against some of the best decks. We do have the Rising Runic. Once again, Runic has been gaining so much traction recently, and Orcus, one of the most notable decks and more popular choices. And of course, the Malice problem. Malice is just way above the competition right now. Ryzel can come off against them. Ryzel can confidently pair against Malice, but Malice just have that extra consistency, extra resiliency from the Atignisar cards and the support of Cyber's cards from the code, no? So Malice has been so terrific right now, and it is just very usual or sensible to play Chaos Hunter to answer the best deck. Of course, we are going to tech against the best deck. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense if you're not going to tech for what is the more popular and what is the most played deck out there, no? So we just need to use Chaos Hunter and likes of Lancea to answer the Malice problem. And also a Floodgate and a Beat Stick at the same time with 2-5 attack. Imagine that. It could compensate for a lot of damage output that you can dish out towards your opponent once you deal 5k, 5.5, and you just need Chaos Hunter on your field and call it a game, no? Because you have 8k already, and yeah, you can just finish off games quickly when you have a monster like Chaos Hunter, a Floodgate that stops banishing effects and banishing mechanic, and also has a high attack 2-5 stat line. So it's just a perfect card on this current metagame. So moving on towards the meta decks that can be toppled with Chaos Hunter, of course, Malice, really popular deck and probably the best on my own argument. And Orcus, very cheap, very budget friendly, very easy to use, and a lot of people are using it right now, especially in Southeast Asian regions. And Runic, of course, the rising popularity of Runic has been getting some wind from the best regions. People are trying to play Runic with Dominus cards and other Floodgates, other hand traps sometimes with Fualos and Maxino on the main deck, and of course the standard Runic with Border. So yeah, you just need to counter the banishing cards of Runic. So yeah, that sums up our top 5 tech cards for February 2025 OCG format post all-in. So if you found this video informative and helpful, please consider subscribing. It definitely motivates me a lot to keep providing this content for you guys. So once again, thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Peace.